What does the human brain actually look like? We all know it's a wrinkly, grayish blob, right? Well, that's just scratching the surface. Today, we are going on a deep dive to explore the true appearance of the most complex object in the known universe. So, buckle up, and let's get started. First, let's talk about what you'd see if you could hold a fresh, living human brain. Spoiler alert, it's not gray. A living brain is surprisingly soft, almost like gelatin, and it has a vibrant, pinkish tan color. This color comes from the vast network of blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries that are constantly supplying it with oxygen and nutrients. It's a powerhouse and it looks the part. This intricate web of vessels is so dense that it gives the brain its living, pulsating appearance. It's a far cry from the dull, gray specimens we see in jars. Why are those brains in jars gray? Then, that's because they've been preserved. When a brain is removed for study, it's typically placed in a chemical solution like formaldehyde. This process, called fixation, preserves the tissue but also changes its color and texture. The proteins denature, the blood is drained, and a soft, jelly-like structure becomes firm and rubbery, taking on that familiar grayish-white hue. So the gray brain is essentially a preserved, non-living version of the real thing. Now, let's talk about size and weight. The average adult human brain weighs about 3 pounds, or around 1.4 kilograms. To give you some perspective, that's roughly the weight of a small cantaloupe or a half-gallon of milk. It's not the biggest brain in the animal kingdom, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in density and complexity. And it's surprisingly compact, fitting snugly inside our skulls. The most iconic feature of the human brain is its wrinkled surface. It looks a bit like a giant walnut. These wrinkles aren't random, they're a brilliant evolutionary strategy for packing more power into a small space. The outer layer of the brain is called the cerebral cortex, and it's where most of our higher-level thinking happens. By folding in on itself, the cortex dramatically increases its surface area. If you were to flatten out an adult human cortex, it would cover about the size of a large pizza. These folds are made up of ridges, called gyri, and grooves, called sulci. The deeper grooves are called fissures, and they act as major landmarks, dividing the brain into different sections. Let's use those landmarks to take a tour. The most prominent fissure runs right down the middle, from front to back. This is the longitudinal fissure, and it separates the brain into two distinct halves, the left and right hemispheres. While they look like mirror images, they specialize in different functions. The left hemisphere is typically more involved with language and logical processing, while the right hemisphere excels at spatial awareness, facial recognition, and creative tasks. These two halves are in constant communication, connected by a thick bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum, a superhighway of information exchange buried deep within that central fissure. Each hemisphere is further divided into four main lobes, each with its own set of responsibilities. Right at the front, behind your forehead, is the frontal lobe. This is the largest lobe and acts as our executive control center. It's responsible for planning, problem-solving, personality, and voluntary movement. It is what helps you decide what to have for breakfast and what allows you to reach for your coffee cup. The famous prefrontal cortex, part of the frontal lobe, is the seat of our personality and complex decision-making. Moving back from the frontal lobe, on the top part of your head, we find the parietal lobe. This area is all about processing sensory information. When you touch something hot, feel the texture of your clothes, or sense the position of your body in space, your parietal lobe is hard at work. It integrates information from our senses to create a coherent picture of the world around us and our place within it. At the very back of the brain is the occipital lobe. This lobe is almost exclusively dedicated to one thing: vision. It takes the raw data sent from our eyes and processes it into the rich visual world we experience: colors, shapes, movement, everything. It's like the brain's internal movie projector and editing suite all rolled into one. Finally, located on the sides of your head, near your temples, are the temporal lobes. These are crucial for processing sounds, understanding language, and forming memories. When you listen to music, recognize a friend's voice, or recall a happy childhood memory, your temporal lobes are firing on all cylinders. Deep within the temporal lobes, you'll find key structures like the hippocampus, which is vital for creating new memories, and the amygdala, which processes emotions like fear and pleasure. But what we've seen so far is just the outer layer, the cerebrum. What happens if we slice the brain open? Peeking inside reveals a whole new landscape. You'd immediately notice that the brain isn't uniform in color. There are distinct areas of gray matter and white matter. The gray matter, which forms the cerebral cortex on the outside and is also found in clusters deep inside, is where the processing happens. It's made up of neuronal cell bodies, dendrites, and synapses, the brain's computational hardware. The white matter, found beneath the gray matter, is made of axons, the long cables that connect neurons to each other. These axons are coated in a fatty substance called myelin, which is what gives the white matter its pale, whitish appearance. Myelin acts like insulation on an electrical wire, allowing nerve signals to travel incredibly fast. So you can think of the gray matter as the brain's computers, and the white matter as the high-speed internet network connecting them all. Beneath the large cerebrum, at the back, sits a smaller, also highly wrinkled structure called the cerebellum. Its name means little brain, and it's a powerhouse for coordinating movement, balance, and posture. Every smooth, coordinated action you make, from walking to typing to playing a musical instrument, is fine-tuned by the cerebellum. It ensures our movements are graceful and precise rather than clumsy and jerky. And finally, connecting the entire brain to the spinal cord is the brainstem. This is the most ancient part of our brain, and it controls all the vital, automatic functions that keep us alive without us even thinking about them. We're talking about breathing, heart rate, blood pressure, and sleep. The brainstem is the unsung hero, the life support system that works 24/7 in the background. So the human brain isn't just a simple gray blob. It's a dynamic, living organ pulsating with pinkish life. It's a marvel of packaging, with its wrinkled cortex maximizing processing power. It's a beautifully organized structure of hemispheres and lobes, each with a specialized role. And internally, it's a complex network of gray matter computers connected by a white matter information superhighway, all anchored by the life-sustaining brainstem and a coordinating cerebellum. The next time you think about your brain, picture this vibrant, intricate, and astonishingly complex organ working tirelessly inside your head. It's the source of every thought, emotion, and action you'll ever have. Thanks so much for joining me on this tour of the human brain. If you found this fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe to Scientific Enigma Hub for more deep dives into the amazing world of science.